The Pittsburgh Steelers finished the 2023 season with a 10-7 record and made the playoffs for the third time in 4 years. Unfortunately, for the third time in 4 years, they lost in the wild card round, but the fortunate part is the Steelers are taking a lot of steps in the right direction, and their future looks genuinely bright. We are coming off of a draft weekend in which the Steelers had 7 total picks and 4 in the top 100 alone. And with not just the 4 top 100 picks, but the 5th pick they had in the 2024 draft, which was South Dakota State offensive lineman Mason McCormick, the Pittsburgh Steelers have done it again, and they absolutely killed it during the 2024 draft. This isn't just a one-pick thing or getting incredible value on a player that they took in the 3rd round. This was great value on several picks, and the Steelers will reap the benefits this fall. In today's video, we will break down the short-term impact of their draft picks, the long-term impact, and what the Steelers can expect from their 2024 draft class moving forward. Now let's begin. Troy Fautanu was their first-round pick, and Pittsburgh took Troy with the 20th overall pick in the first round. There was a lot of concern prior to Fautanu's measurements coming in that he would primarily be a guard at the NFL level, and that was the initial projection back in January. But Troy's arms came in at 34.5 inches, which, per Mock Draftable, ranks his arms at the 67th percentile out of all offensive tackles in their database, dating back to 2001. And Troy's arms are only a quarter of an inch shorter than current Steelers right tackle Broderick Jones, whose arms came in at 34 3/4 inches last year. After getting over that hump, Troy was an explosive athlete, which shows up time and time again on tape, and he had a 32.5 inch vertical and a broad jump of over 9 feet, both of which were in the 90th plus percentile. There were countless mock drafts done over the past few months, and I posted several on the channel, and rarely did Troy last to pick 20 because of how good he was as a prospect. I specifically mocked Troy to the Saints at pick 14 a lot, simply because of how much they needed offensive line help, and given how Troy could play tackle or guard at the next level. But when you look at Fautanu's game, there's not a lot of weaknesses, and I think he has one of the highest floors of any player in the 2024 draft class, regardless of position. He's athletic, he's strong, and he can move a lot faster than you think. And one reason in particular as to why I like this pick so much isn't just because the Steelers drafted a good football player, or a player that has the potential to play them for the next 5 or 6 years, but because they drafted a great player at a premium position and will have him on a discount for the next few years. For those that don't know, young players have what's called a rookie scale contract, and what they are paid is a very small amount relative to what other veterans in the NFL are paid. For example, CJ Stroud is on his rookie scale contract and will get paid $8.2 million next year, while Matt Stafford of the Rams will get paid $49.5 million. I know a lot of people know about the difference in contracts, but for any new viewers or listeners, I did want to explain the difference because it is quite substantial, and this plays a big part into why the Steelers had such a good draft class. Pittsburgh obviously has a bunch of good players on their roster like TJ Watt, Minkah Fitzpatrick, and Alex Highsmith to name a few, but now they're getting several good rookies in addition to a team that went 10-7 last year and in theory should only improve moving forward. One of my biggest frustrations with the Steelers in 2023, with or without Matt Canada, was how they won games, or more so, how they had to win games, because if they didn't win in a very specific way, then they were done, and we saw that in multiple games in 2023. Draft season has been exhausting, from the hundreds of hours of tape review, editing, writing script, you name it, and going to bed at 11 and waking up at 5:30 takes a toll, and the bags under my eyes haven't got here by accident. Which is why I'm excited to talk to you about today's sponsor, Manta Sleep. Manta has a variety of masks, from a pro sleep mask to a sound sleep mask to a silk mask, and they even have cool eye masks, which are freezable eye cups to soothe the eyes and sinuses. I also love the sound sleep mask, which you can connect through Bluetooth and play music or white noise or anything you want to fall asleep to. There's zero pressure on your eyes, and the sound sleep mask also has a 20-hour battery life. From the stress of running the channel and creating content in a timely manner during draft season, Manta has helped in a big way, and you can get 10% off on Manta using code ANALYSIS. So check out Manta using the link below and use code ANALYSIS to get 10% off your purchase today. and a big thank you to Manta for sponsoring today's video. The opener against the 49ers was horrible. The Week 4 game against the Texans was ugly, and the game against the Cardinals and Colts down the stretch were both pretty bad too. The reason we bring those up is because the Steelers had so many wins last year that were ugly, Pittsburgh Stiller wins, as they would say in Western Pennsylvania, but for the benefit of the Steelers and their fans, I think those styles of wins are, I don't want to say over, but there should be a lot less of them moving forward. The Steelers struggled to run the football at times throughout 2023, and especially early on, as they had less than 100 yards rushing as a team in 5 of their first 7 games. As a team, not just Najee Harris individually. But with the additions of second-round pick Zack Frasier and fourth-round pick Mason McCormick, along with already having James Daniels at right guard and the natural progression of second-year right tackle Broderick Jones, I don't see any way this happens in 2024, at least the big struggle at the beginning of the year like they had. Eventually, Pittsburgh's run game got going and they ran for 110 or more yards in 8 of their final 10 games of the 23 regular season. The only 2 games they failed to reach 100 yards rushing as a team was the disastrous Thursday night game against New England and the following Saturday against the Colts. But a pick I liked a lot for the Steelers, aside from Troy at pick 20, was Zack Frasier at pick 51. He's a very strong interior offensive line prospect and also has a high football IQ, and I would be shocked if Frasier isn't a 5+ year starter for them, barring injuries of course. If you've watched any of the draft day videos over the past few days, then you know how high I am on Raiders guard, former Oregon center, Jackson Powers Johnson, and I am. But I'm also very high on Zack Frasier, and I didn't discuss Frasier all that much leading up to this video, because I knew I was going to make a Steelers video once I saw how their draft class was unfolding, and it's due in large part to their first few picks. Frasier played over 3,000 snaps during his time at West Virginia, which is right in the Steelers' backyard, and they know how good Frasier was for not just the last few months, but for the last few years. During his high school athletic career, he was a 4-time heavyweight state champion wrestler with just 2 career losses, and NFL teams love having former wrestlers on their roster for a few reasons. One, of course, is the multi-sport athleticism, because different sports require different athletic abilities, but they love wrestling specifically for linemen on both the offensive and defensive side of the football, because of how much leverage is used within the sport. Anytime I find out a prospect is a former wrestler during their pre-draft process, I always mark it down as a positive on their scouting report because of how much NFL teams value that. But Frasier was also a 3-time All-Big 12 academic first team and a 2-time winner of the Iron Mountaineer Award, which is given to the most outstanding performers in West Virginia's offseason strength and conditioning program. Frasier is a very good prospect, and like we said with JPJ now with the Raiders, teams will look back and wish they took Zack a few years from now. Not only did the Steelers draft 2 offensive linemen who I think will start for them for a long time, and as crazy as this may sound, until at least the 2030s, but I loved what GM Omar Khan did last year by trading up in front of the Jets to acquire Broderick Jones with their first-round pick. I am a firm believer that the Jets absolutely would have taken Broderick with their first-round pick in 23, but why we bring this up is because the Steelers now have at least 60% of their offensive line on rookie contracts, meaning discounts with what they pay them relative to their production. Obviously, we know all about the quarterback on the rookie scale like Brock Purdy and CJ Stroud both currently are, but how about having 3 offensive linemen and potentially a 4th in Mason McCormick on rookie deals while you can spend money elsewhere? That is one of the biggest reasons why I think the Steelers had such a good draft, not just in 24, but in 23 too, with the addition of Broderick, and you can also say Joey Porter Jr. if you'd like to, as he is another good player on a discount. Yes, the Steelers have questions at the quarterback position, and hypothetically, if the season were on the line, and they had to go play Arrowhead to play the Chiefs in the postseason, no, I don't think the Steelers would win that game, but they are doing everything right in terms of how to construct a roster in today's NFL. Not mentioned within the 23 draft part was a player I like a lot in 2023 second rounder, Keanu Bunton, a player whose ceiling, to me at least, is as high as the sky. It is cliche to say a player coming out of a specific school is going to fail because of the position he plays, and people, not me because I had him in the top 6 of this class, but people said that about Drake May with being a North Carolina quarterback. Florida corners is another position and school people do this with. But on the other side of this, it's hard not to buy in with the first of the Steelers' third-round picks in wide receiver Roman Wilson. The Steelers traded wide receiver Deontay Johnson to the Panthers this offseason, and I was kind of surprised by that move, to be honest, especially for what they received in return for Deontay, but drafting Roman Wilson was a great pick, and with the success the Steelers have had at the receiver position over the past really few decades, it's hard not to think that Roman won't be the next good mid-round selection for the franchise. Whether it was Hines Ward as a third-round pick in '98, or Mike Wallace as a third-round pick in '09, or AB as a 6th-round pick in 2010, or Juju as a 2nd-round pick in 2017, or Deontay as a 3rd-round pick in 2019, or George Pickens as a 2nd-round pick in 22, or now Roman Wilson as a 3rd-round pick in 24. Also, we didn't forget about Plax or Santonio, they were 1st-round picks in their respective drafts. But the point is, this isn't a normal team in any way, shape, or form in terms of receivers. So, in addition to the talent and beef they added up front, there's a very real possibility they added another 1,000-yard receiver in the draft this year, due in some part to how good Roman is as a receiver, and with how thin the Steelers' receiving core currently is. The 1,000-yard part for Roman would be at some point in his career, because I would be pretty surprised if a 3rd-round rookie became a 1,000-yard receiver, especially in this offense with how much I expect George Pickens to get the ball this year, along with Pat Freiermuth, and of course, both running backs in Najee Harris and Jaylen Warren. But the point stands. Roman has wheels, and wheels doesn't emphasize how fast he is on the field, and I think he is a perfect complement to the big-bodied George Pickens and Pat Freiermuth in this offense. Realistically speaking, for Roman in his rookie year, I think he can have 3 or 4 touchdowns of 20-plus yards, and hopefully finish the year with 600 yards as a rookie, which, by the way, is still great production from a 3rd-rounder. Everyone gets caught up in the Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, and Puka Nacua type rookie years, but those guys are outliers and not the standard. I also love the Steelers' selection of 3rd-round linebacker Payton Wilson, and this is a player who has serious long-term potential. He is 6'4", 230, and ran a 4.43 40. He is a sideline-to-sideline linebacker and is a tremendous athlete who is coming off of a 138 tackle season for the Wolfpack in 2023. The reason Wilson fell so far in the draft, and this has to be noted, is he will be a 24-year-old rookie and has a lengthy injury history. But he played 23 games over the past 2 years and was very good when healthy. The talent at pick 98 was far too good to pass, and for reference, I had Payton at 66 on my big board, meaning the Steelers got a plus 32 spot difference relative to where I had him. I also had Troy Fautanu at 16, Zack Frasier at 35, and Roman Wilson at 45. And if you combine all of these spot differences for where the Steelers drafted their first 4 players, and granted this is my personal big board, but Pittsburgh walked out of the draft with a plus 91 spot difference relative to where each of their top 4 players were drafted. I hope Russell Wilson works out for the Steelers in the worst way, because watching Kenny Pickett stare down receivers and not go through progressions was so frustrating during the 23 Steelers season. And when they got down early, like in the Texans game for reference, you knew they were done because this was a team that couldn't battle back with the talent they had on the roster. Now, do I think Russell Wilson is going to turn the clock back and have a 40 passing touchdown season this year? No, but what I do think is possible is the Steelers can be in every game by simply playing good defense, which they absolutely will as their defense is very good, minus the second cornerback position, and running the football, which was a heavy emphasis in the 24 draft. I know people will make jokes about offensive coordinator Arthur Smith not using George Pickens because of how Arthur was in Atlanta, but I think he's better suited as an OC, and I think this will be a good transition in his career to get back to doing what he does well. The Steelers will play smash mouth, run the football, and play good defense in 24, and it wouldn't surprise me at all if this team goes 4-2 5-1 in division games, and finishes the year with 11 wins and makes the playoffs in the vaunted AFC. This was a hell of a draft class, and the Steelers absolutely killed it. I hope you enjoyed, and if you did, please like and subscribe, as only about 37% of people watching are subscribed and helps the channel tremendously. Until next time, please be safe and have a great day. Love you guys.